Welcome, everyone, to our episode of Milk Minutes, presented to you by Healthy Starts Center for Urban Breastfeeding, where we discuss breastfeeding related topics. I will be your host. My name is Ashley Hall, and I'm the program manager for the Center for Urban Breastfeeding, affectionately known as the CUB for short. The Center for Urban Breastfeeding is a Healthy Start initiative to address and bridge the gap of breastfeeding initiation for Black mothers and Black babies. Our free services are specifically targeted to Black mothers residing in Allegheny County. Our services include telephone, virtual, and in home support. For access to a lactation professional through our Latch line, simply call 412-545-2022, option 1, and you'll be connected to a lactation professional within the first 20 minutes. We also offer free breastfeeding 101 classes where we get our families prepared to breastfeed successfully. In this class, you will get to know the process of how milk is made, how to maintain your supply, and when you should reach out for help. January is National Birth Defects Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness about birth defects and provide support to those impacted by them. Today, we're diving into a topic that isn't often talked about: breastfeeding with birth defects. Navigating challenges can be complex when babies are born with conditions like cleft lip, cleft palate, or Down syndrome, but with the right guidance and tools, families can find a path that works for them. In this episode, we'll explore how breastfeeding can still be an option in many cases, share tips for overcoming common challenges, and highlight the importance of professional and peer support. Whether you're a parent, a caregiver, or a professional, we're here to provide insight, encouragement, and practical advice. Let's get started. So today we are honored to have our very own lactation professional, Terri Bailey, as our guest. Terri received her bachelor's degree in nursing from Hampton University, formerly known as Hampton Institute in Hampton, Virginia, one of the oldest HBCUs. In 2011, at the age of 54, she graduated from the University of Pittsburgh with her master's in science and nursing, master's of science in nursing. As a pediatric nurse practitioner who practiced in primary care for 11 years before retiring 2 years ago, Terri became an international board certified lactation consultant. She is married to her amazing husband for 41 years, who is the veterinarian radiologist and president-elect of the American Veterinary Medical Association. She is the mother of 2 sons, both breastfed. The oldest is a Pittsburgh City police officer and currently on active duty in the Army Reserves, stateside in Texas. The youngest is a firefighter and paramedic with a critical care certification working in Fairfax County Fire and Rescue in Fairfax, Virginia. Terri loves being with her family, her friends, and traveling, especially to warm destinations. She enjoys sitting on the beach and reading, listening to waves, and enjoying the sunshine. When she's not traveling, she is providing lactation support for the Center for Urban Breastfeeding. Join us as we dive into breastfeeding with birth defects with Terri today. Welcome, Terri.
Thank you, Ashley. It's a pleasure being here.
You're very welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. I always enjoy spending time with you, and I'm glad that we're able to highlight some of your experience today on our episode of Milk Minutes. So before we jump in, I do want our audience to get to know you a little better. And I'm going to have a couple questions just to get the conversation started. So first, can you tell me a little bit about your journey to becoming an IBCLC?
Well, as you said previously, both of my sons were breastfed, and I hadn't done a lot of research into the benefits of breastfeeding. All I knew that I wanted to do was breastfeed. It looked like it was a way to connect and bond with my son. So I ran into some obstacles with him when I first breastfed, and La Leche League tried to help, but because I had to return to work in 6 weeks, it just wasn't the right assistance for me. So I was working in the hospital years later with my second son in the neonatal intensive care unit, and the manager of the postpartum unit decided that they wanted to have international board certified lactation consultants on staff. So we were sent to a 1 week course that was given by a university in California. I don't remember what the name of the university was because that was way back in 1996. But anyway, that's how I decided to become a lactation consultant, because there weren't, at that time, were not a lot of ways that breastfeeding moms could be supported.
Absolutely, completely understand. So, since you retired those 2 years ago, what pulled you to wanting to work with the Center for Urban Breastfeeding?
While I was working as a pediatric nurse practitioner in primary care, I was involved a little bit with the Center for Urban Breastfeeding. And I knew that it is so important to have that support in the African American community. So since I had some experience with the Cub, I decided to reach out to see how I could give back and assist the moms with breastfeeding.
Absolutely. We are so grateful that you're here. You provide so much support with our participants, so much. We always hear great feedback as well, too. That's one thing
That's great.
I like. Yeah, absolutely. I love to hear the positive feedback because you surely do make a difference. All that experience that you have, you use it every single time you work with our participants, and it's rewarding to hear and to know that you're making such a difference.
That is good to hear, because sometimes I feel like that I'm not really making a difference. But right before I retired, and I really, struggled with retiring when I did, but because I felt like I was letting my patients and their families down by retiring. But someone told me that you may not even realize the importance of what you're doing until later, or you may never realize it. If you can just make a difference in one person's life, then that's important, which helped me a lot.
That is so true. That even if it's one person, that can have a rippling effect and can change lives.
Yes.
Yes, that is amazing. So, thinking about our observance for this month, how does breastfeeding support infant health, particularly for infants born with birth defects?
So I was a registered nurse in the neonatal intensive care unit for 25 years before I went back to school to become a pediatric nurse practitioner. So I had the opportunity to work with families that had a baby that was born with a birth defect. The ones that come to mind most often are the cleft lip and cleft palate, um, Down syndrome, and babies born with congenital heart defects. So, in some instances, the baby is not able to go to the breast immediately. So, I think it's important to encourage the moms to, start pumping as soon as the baby's born if the baby is not able to go to the breast right away, because this is a way that she can bond and provide an additional way that she can bond and provide the best, or should I say, optimal feeding for her baby.
Absolutely. Um, and you did mention too that with some of these birth defects that they're unable to initiate nursing through latching, but pumping is also an option.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of any times that you've worked with a mom where that was a challenge and you kind of had to build some confidence and also educate that this is still a great way to feed your baby?
Yes. So um, before we moved to Pittsburgh, I worked at a very big neonatal intensive care unit in Virginia. And so we had babies that were born with heart defects.
Mhm.
So a lot of times the parents already know that the baby has a heart defect just because we've come a long way in doing the ultrasounds during pregnancy where they can diagnose these defects while the mom is pregnant, and then they can have the support, medical support, right after the baby's born. So it can be challenging to help the mother to understand that even though the baby cannot be directly at the breast, providing breast milk is still such a great benefit for them. Now, some babies born with cleft lip are able to go to the breast. They are just some different positions that you may have to use to seal off that opening in the baby's lip for the baby to be able to provide the negative suction or pressure to be able to breastfeed.
Thank you. If possible, could you share what some of those positions may look like?
Most of the time, in my experience, the football hold
Okay.
works really well. And if the mother has large enough breasts, she can position the baby's lip so that her breast is occluding that opening in the lip. So the baby is able to, breastfeed, but we do have to monitor their weight very closely because they may not be able to provide good suction at the breast to transfer milk. So it's important for all of the babies that are born with some type of birth defect that we follow their growth and development very closely. And to educate the mothers that the different components of the breast milk can help once they have surgery, to decrease the chance of them getting an infection while they're in the hospital. And it has certain other things that formula does not have that helps with recovery or helping the baby to heal after surgery.
Thank you. And then you did mention the football hold. For those who are viewing who don't know what the football hold is, could you share what that looks like?
So I am not a huge football fan, but living in Pittsburgh, you gotta have to kind of get on the ball a little bit. But the football hold is where the baby is tucked under your arm, like you see the players carry a football. And so you always want to have a pillow to support the baby's body, and the baby's tucked under your arm, and you would bring the baby to the breast. Um, I guess the baby is kind of like the baby's face is kind of facing your breast, and the body's tucked beneath the arm.
Yes, thank you so much. I can see it now. It is just like holding that football. Yes, thank you. And then you mentioned that there are some common challenges that family face when when breastfeeding children who may have some special needs. How do you address those? So we did talk about down a cleft lip.
Mm-hmm. So I think if the mother already knows that her baby is going to be born with, a cleft lip or cleft palate or a heart defect, then giving them that information ahead of time, like while they're pregnant, that your baby may not be able to go to the breast right away, but it's still so important for you to provide them breast milk. Which is so helpful for them.
Yeah.
I know that in some instances, when moms are not able to provide enough breast milk, we have the milk bank here in Pittsburgh, where mothers can donate breast milk if the mother or the baby themselves are not able to provide the breast milk. But pumping, as soon as possible after birth, and then pumping at regular intervals, frequent intervals, will help the mother produce, in most cases, an adequate amount of milk that the baby does need for growth and development.
Definitely. Thank you. It sounds like it's really important to have a plan, have
Yes.
a breastfeeding plan before going in. And the more you know, the better equipped you are when it comes to breastfeeding.
Absolutely. That is one of the things that I feel like, as a registered nurse and then a nurse practitioner, education is just so important. And having that information ahead of time, I think, so you can make sure that you have a good pump, or that you can rent a hospital grade pump, to talk about storage of breast milk. So I think having that information available in the obstetricians or the OB's offices ahead of time, or at one of the prenatal visits, I think is helpful. And then having someone in the OB offices that is familiar with breastfeeding and breast milk production, so that if the mom does have any questions, that she has someone there at the time that she has the questions that would be able to assist her.
Absolutely. And I do want to just plug in our Breastfeeding 101 class again, because our participants have that free class and you teach that class and you provide them with so much breastfeeding education.
Yeah, yes, I think providing education ahead of time is
Yeah,
always beneficial, because after the baby's born, there's so many things going on, and the nurses just give you so much information about discharge, and a lot of times, um, breastfeeding and pumping is not at the top of that list.
you're right. It's not. But I was wondering too, like, what can we do as a community to better educate parents and healthcare providers about the benefits of breastfeeding?
Once again, I think maybe having availability at the health fairs, the community health fairs, partnering with other organizations to
Absolutely.
have just like a table available, with a brochure about the benefits of breastfeeding and how important it is, especially during the winter months, when we have colds and influenza and COVID and norovirus, that mothers know how important it is, specifically at this time of the year. And then if her baby has to have surgery, and go in the hospital, that the chances of them getting an infection in the hospital are decreased if the mom is providing pumped breast milk for her baby.
Absolutely. Again, education. I love the idea of partnerships and using table and events to spread the awareness and continue education efforts for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some misconceptions about breastfeeding infants with birth defects?
Um, I guess the one of the main misconception is that they may not ever be able to breastfeed. It may be delayed a little bit. Um, so I think letting the mother know realistically, depending upon the baby's birth defect or diagnosis, should I say, um, is can be helpful.
And again, it goes back to education
I
and
can't hear you.
clarity. Can you hear me?
Now I can. I couldn't hear you before. So sorry.
Oh, good notes. Okay. I'm so you were mentioning before that's the importance of education and planning, really to just get the parents aware, to also reassure and eliminate some of those misconceptions that they may have around breastfeeding. You did mention that there may be a delay, and with
Mm-hmm.
that delay, you would resort to pumping.
Yes.
Just for our viewer audience, how frequently would a new mom want to pump who is unable to latch right away?
So ideally, 8 times in a 24-hour period, which is every 3 hours, including at night.
Even
But
when they're
we
sleeping?
Well, you have to get up. You have to get up to, set your alarm,
Mhm.
to get
Mhm.
up to pump. Matter of fact, I was speaking with a mother just last week when I was on call,
Mhm.
and we talked about her. She had noticed a decrease in her breast milk supply since her baby came home from the NICU. And so, I just went over all those things. And a lot of times, mothers don't realize that the baby is eating every 3 hours. So we have to mimic that baby's schedule
Mhm.
for her body to provide adequate milk supply for her new baby. So I think, giving them that information, yeah, you even if your baby is not at home and in the hospital, if your baby was home, you would be getting up to feed that baby. So kind of like thinking about that. And like maybe when I worked in the NICU, we had the parents bring in like a piece of clothing or a blanket from home and maybe put that have the baby scent on it, and then she could hold that. And a lot of times that really does work in helping her to increase her pumping volume.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. It's
The
amazing.
body is amazing.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that. Those are so many great gems that I didn't expect for you to share today, but I know our viewers are going to value. I think I have a few more questions.
Okay.
I want to be mindful of our time. Um, I would like to end with this last question, I think will be best. What advice do you give your parents about advocating for their child within the medical system?
Oh, this is a big one for me.
Let's go
Um,
ahead.
Big one. I wish that there was some way that I could um, be an advocate for the mom so that she can be an advocate for the baby. So, my advice is that your baby cannot talk. So, you have to be your baby's advocate and ask questions. I'm a question asker all the time. It drives my family absolutely bonkers, but that's too bad because that's the way I learn
I love your
information, right?
questions. You're so
And
inquisitive.
so
Yeah.
I encourage them to ask questions. And
Mhm.
if you are not getting the answer that you understand, ask again. Keep asking and until you understand what they are trying the provider, the healthcare provider, is trying to explain to you. Um, for your different birth defects, go to the websites that they have for particular diagnoses like cleft lip and cleft palate. Um, Reputable websites, should I say? I need to add that, right? A lot of when you Google, I find a lot of the children's hospitals have excellent information on the different birth defects and what that means. But then the organizations themselves, there are organizations out there for babies who are diagnosed with Downs. There are organizations out there for infants who are born with a heart defect. Matter of fact, one of the physician's assistants that I work with at Kids Plus had a baby that had a heart defect, and he was on it, with um, meeting other parents. That's the other benefit, I think. Finding a support group in your community for that specific diagnosis or congenital diagnosis, because these moms and dads, I don't want to leave the dads out, um, have been through it before. And so they can be such a good source of information and support. I even found out that when I was practicing as a pediatric nurse practitioner, for some of the um, diseases or disorders, should I say, that I was not very familiar with, the parents taught me so much. And so just to be willing to be open and let them um, tell you about that particular disorder, and let them know that you're there for them, but just as much education as you can from reputable sites. Support groups are just so important. I cannot stress that enough.
Yes, that was all great advice. And then also, if they're looking for additional support, they can call our latch line and talk to you directly.
Yes, Ashley, but you know I'm not on call all the time.
Not all the time, but we can when you're not traveling, when you're not on the beach, they can definitely give you a call and connect and get connected to resources and get guidance and get reassurance too, because you're able to offer that.
Yes. And I think that that is one of the things that helps me a little bit, but sometimes I have to remember I can't step back in that box as a nurse practitioner. You know,
Yeah,
I'm a lactation consultant, but I feel like working as a RN, as a registered nurse, also has given me an additional knowledge and
absolutely.
experience, you know, for 25 years. And really, I graduated from nursing school in, ooh, 1979. That's a long time. So I've had a lot of
Experience.
experience, you
Yeah.
know, in the hospital, and can give little tips and things that are helpful. But that, you know, speaks to my heart about being an advocate,
Mhm.
you know, to encourage families that they are the voice for their baby, and don't let anybody intimidate you and say that you know, you aren't, or don't let them feel like you are not smart, and that you are not able to understand what they're saying. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. I cannot emphasize that more.
Absolutely. Ask good questions. Use your voice. Your voice is your power.
Yes. Yes, your voice is
Absolutely.
your power. But and even as a medical person, sometimes when I go to my own doctors, you know,
Mhm.
I feel um, like I'm bothersome. But you know, I get over that like real quick. And I remember when my husband was in the hospital for something, and I would ask all kinds of questions, and you can tell that they were getting irritated with me. But I said, too bad, because we need to have that information. That's your job. And that's how I felt as a pediatric nurse practitioner too, is my job is to provide good quality care, but also be supportive of my parents, and allow them hopefully to feel comfortable and safe, so that they can ask the questions that they need to get the information that they need to make informed decisions about their baby's care.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that too. Just remember to use your voices, everyone. Your voice is your power. Ask good questions, ask again and ask again until you fully understand. Not only does it benefit you, it benefits your baby. And
Right.
if you need additional support, feel free to reach out to the latch line. Terri will put some fire under you to make sure you ask those questions.
That is right, Ashley. I will put some fire. Well, I just want to encourage the
Mhm.
families to ask questions, because we know that it can be intimidating.
Oh, for sure.
You know, this is something new that you don't have, you know, any information about. You've never gone through this before. So it's so critical that you ask the questions that need to be asked. And if you um, like Ashley said, if you need some assistance, you know, call the doctor's office and ask to speak with the nurse.
Yeah.
Most of the doctor's offices have like an RN that can help answer questions better than, you know, some of the other staff.
Absolutely. I am so thrilled to have this conversation with you. I'm glad that you had some time before you go travel the world again to just share your knowledge and your experience, and also develop some confidence and put fire under the mothers who are families who may be experiencing challenges with breastfeeding when it comes to birth defects or birth defect diagnosis. So I
Right.
really appreciate your time. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This has been another wonderful installment of Milk Minutes. If you have any lactation concerns, you need support, you have questions, feel free to give us a call on our latch line. Miss Terri is there ready to provide you with support and her 25 plus years of experience. So do not hesitate to call 412-545-2022. Option one. Exactly. Until next time, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.